My name is Oluwatosin Olabode, the founder of Doing Healthy Africa and the curator of the No Gadget Hangout. One of the reasons why we're having this conversation is because most times when people hear the No Gadget Hangout, they are thinking that we are creating a movement that are against technology. So we saw it fit to have a conversation on why the No Gadget Hangout matters and what essentially it is and what the benefits of the No Gadget Hangout is. To begin with, technology has come to stay. Technology isn't going anywhere, and we are not advocating against the use of technology. Rather, we are creating a movement that ensures that people are intentional with their technology usage. How are you able to use technology in such a way that you are productive while avoiding the associated harms that come with it? The concept is called digital wellness, and it is off of that movement that we created the No Gadget Hangout as a strategy to help ensure that we are flourishing in the digital space. One important factor to consider as we navigate today's conversation is that there is an idea between the concept of something being subjective and something being objective. When something is subjective, it means that it's open to interpretations, it's open to opinions, it's open to perspective. However, when something is objective, it means that it has gotten to a stage where it is now a law and it is universal. It is accepted in every circumstance and every situation that you test it with. And so one thing that we must realize with technology and social media, for instance, is that they are subjective concepts. Technology in itself isn't bad. Social media in itself isn't bad. Because if social media by default is bad or technology by default is bad, it means that everybody engaging within the technological space, within the digital space, everybody on social media will be having that negative effect of social media by default. But because it is relative and to a very larger extent dependent on how we use it, that's why a lot of times you see certain people go on social media and their mental health is boosted because they are productively using the platform, while other people go on social media, for instance, and are negatively impacted because of how they're using it. Case in point, social comparison, for instance. And so what we're trying to do today is to bring to perspective the role that who we are and our identity plays in how we approach the digital space, in how we approach everything that we do. And I have an amazing friend that is sound and awesome in the mental health and wellness space that will be answering some questions to put to perspective today's conversation. Welcome, Wanja. So
Yes.
let's get to meet you. Who are you? And just tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, first, before we even carry on, I also wanted to know how you're doing, Tosin. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks. Trust your day has been amazing too.
Yes, my day has been well. Apart from having hitches here and there, it has been amazing, and we thank God for everything. So thank you so much for considering Afiakili to partner with you on this project. Yes, my name is Phyllis Wanja Getimo. I am an artist, pencil artist and cartoonist. I am the founder and CEO of Kili, a platform where you learn about mental health using art. And I'm also the Global Peace Country Ambassador for mental health in Kenya. So I'm really happy to be here because we'll be able to break down the link between No Gadget Hangout and mental health, and why we are having here in our country and other parts of the continent, Africa. So it's really amazing that we are having Tosin here with us to enable us to understand this aspect, and we bring in the mental health aspect in it as well. So Tosin, share with us what No Gadget Hangout is all about in your country, where you're from, and why you want to come in our country, Kenya. So take this
Okay,
chance.
that's fine. So the No Gadget Hangout is a 2-hour tech-free safe space where we host holistic, intentional conversations that are void of digital distraction. One of the things that research is showing is that we are becoming a generation that is no longer fully present in our engagements, in our interactions, in our actions, and all of that. And so, one of the things that we're trying to do with the No Gadget Hangout is we are beginning to create a movement of intentional and deliberate people across everything that they desire to do or everything that they desire to accomplish. The No Gadget Hangout is founded on three key principles: the idea of intention and attention management. Intention speaks to our why and the what of the things that we want to do. And then attention speaks to how it's a template for observation to ensure that we're achieving the things that we said we will do. The second is the law of scheduling, which essentially talks about time boxing these activities that we intend to achieve. Once you know what you should be doing, it becomes easier to know what you shouldn't be doing because a time has been allocated to every activity that you intend to achieve. So just think about it as your to-do list that you would normally have, but in a more structured fashion. And then the third principle is the concept of traction over distraction. Traction being anything that pulls us towards our intention, while distraction is anything that pulls us away from our intention. And so with these three principles, we developed the No Gadget Hangout as a way to achieve all that we set out to do, and also as a medium to stay away from screens for a little bit, to take screen breaks. There's hardly anything that we want to do now that doesn't require one form of technology or the other, be it work, be it education, be it socializing, and all of that. And so it's super important that we begin to leverage on platforms that do not require technology to host holistic conversations and engagement. The reason why this matters is because if your school requires you to use technology, you can't reduce it. If your work requires you to use technology, you can't reduce it. A lot of us, our families are spread across the world, and sometimes we need to keep in touch with them via technology. And so the goal is not to stop you from anything that you are already doing or that you need to do. And remember, in our introduction, we defined the concept of digital wellness essentially as the idea of being able to ensure that we are able to achieve our set objectives, ensure that we are productive while avoiding the associated harms that come with it. So the concept of the No Gadget Hangout is not reducing the things that you are supposed to be doing. Rather, it's putting a template to how you're able to achieve them. So you are having dinner with your family, for instance. Do you need to be with your device? You are in class. Your lecturer is teaching. Do you need to be with your device? You are hanging out with friends you haven't seen in a while. Do you need to be with your device? That's the perspective of the narrative we're trying to introduce with the No Gadget Hangout.
So I really love what you've shared. Yes, so basically, it's all about putting our phones down,
Yeah.
and putting our gadgets down and really connecting with human beings.
Yeah.
Because that is something that many of us are struggling with. Tosin, recently in our community, and I know you saw this,
Yeah.
we shared a poll, Afiakili community on WhatsApp. We shared a poll where we asked people, how do you normally feel when you spend like a long time on social media?
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you normally feel? So we had options. We had the first choice, not options, choices. We had the first choice, which was I feel tired and drained, motivated, happy, and the last one was distracted. Apparently, or unfortunately, the highest number selected distracted. That was like over 95% of those who voted, who sent in their votes. And the next one, the number two, was tired and drained. And you only had two people selecting that they normally feel motivated when they spend a long time on social media or using their phones all the time, and happy at the same time. So this is a problem. This is something that not only exists but has been there for a long time. Even when phones did not exist, there was something that distracted human beings at the time.
Yeah.
And as you've shared, these tools were created for us to grow,
Mm.
to develop businesses, to develop to build a structure for our growth. But it shouldn't be at the expense of maybe our health. So we need to
Yeah.
find a balance where we say, I'm going to use my phone. You've talked about intentionality. I'm going to use my phone in a certain way for me to be able to uh, achieve the reason why I'm using this gadget.
Yeah.
You have to understand your why. So basically what you're doing on this platform at the No Gadget Hangout is to redefine why we are online,
Yeah.
so that you can be online intentionally and
Mm.
build your structures, build your infrastructures online and succeed, but not just be there and um, get to a point where it's distracting or depleting your health.
Yeah.
So now I think we can start with really understanding what mental health is all about, so that we
Yeah.
can merge No Gadget Hangout as we understand each other. So for the viewers, Tosin is recording this live from Nigeria. You didn't even tell us where you are. Like, where are you? Where in
Yeah.
Nigeria
You
are
just,
you?
you just
Yes?
told us I'm in Nigeria, Abuja, Nigeria, the capital city.
I'm also live from Nairobi, Kenya, and it is so amazing to see two countries coming together with a solution, uh, an artistic solution to help each one of us really improve their wellness uh, and well-being, so that we can be able to build our lives and our families and our relationships.
One of the
Yes?
advantages, like you said earlier on, is we're having this over technology. We're having this on Instagram. We're having this using our mobile devices or our laptop. So that tells me that technology is amazing and there's so much benefits that you can get out of it. But there has to be that structure to it, because once you lose that balance, then that's when the negative consequences of technology begin to crop in. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But to just guide this conversation, I wanted us to, and you mentioned it earlier on, I wanted us to understand a little bit more about mental health. So what is mental health? And then this concept of brain health, if you can speak a little bit to those two perspectives, just to give us context to guide today's conversation.
Okay, yes. So let's start from where you've started. Technology is great and we can't do without it. And that's why we're here, so that we can enable you to see where you can improve, so that you can be able to use this technology in the right way to boost your health, to boost your productivity. So we are really trying to get you out from that place of addiction, so that you can be able to be effective and efficient at your work. So mental health, basically, I'm going to read a definition that is accessible to everyone, so that we can understand what mental health basically is. It is a definition that has been given. It's written by. You'll find it on the website. That is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. That is CDC. When you look into their website, you'll find this definition. And the reason why I'm using this definition is because it is accessible to everyone. Anywhere you can access it and read. So it says mental health includes our emotional, physical, and social well-being. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, I've said physical or psychological and social well-being. So let me explain. Emotional, that is how we feel. How am
Yeah.
I feeling today? I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling anxious. How we feel. Psychological, how we think. How do we think? What do you think about, you're asked, what do you think about this? What do you think? What decision can you make on this problem?
Yeah.
Social, how we act, how we live with people, how we behave, how we build relationships. So it says it also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make healthy choices. So I will also read the definition from World Health Organization, accessible for everyone to read, okay? Mental health is a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with the stresses of life. No, a state of well-being, state of wellness that enables people to cope with the stresses of life, realize their abilities, learn well and work well, and contribute to their community.
Yeah.
So let's take 3 pillars. We'll be delving into these 3 pillars, okay? How we think, how we feel, and how we act. So that is emotional well-being, psychological well-being, and social well-being.
Yeah.
So that is, let's take that as the pillar of mental health. Anything you're going to talk about will be in that
Anchored
in that
around those three.
that pot. It has those 3 ingredients. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want everyone to understand that we want you to become problem solvers. You know, we want you to look at your problems and say, you know what, it can be done. I can solve this problem. And that is why we are doing the No Gadget Hangout, to enable your brain to get to that space of creative thinking so that you can come up with solutions for your problem so that you can be able to build yourself. Okay. So let's talk about brain health. You know, Tosin, I read an article that was written by it's a website. It's called bmj.com. They have this article that they have written about brain health, and I'll just read something that they wrote. It's by a professor and his colleagues. I can barely mention, like even say their names is so difficult. But there's Professor Wang, if I'm saying it well. So they wrote, maintaining a healthy brain during one's life is the utmost goal in pursuing health and longevity. So it says the human brain is the command center for the nervous system and enables thoughts, memory, movement, and emotions by a complex function. That is something that everyone knows. But how healthy is this brain that commands? It's a command center for this nervous system. How many times have we exposed our brains to experiences, or rather situations, that make the brain not be healthy?
Yeah.
And you see, they actually say it is the highest product of biological evolution. Like it is the one organ that we're supposed to really take care of. Yeah. So brain health is basically, let's put it in a layman's language, ensuring that we have the right environment to make our brain function accordingly. And when things are not working accordingly, how can we manage? If it's depression, we're talking about depression, suicidal thoughts, because that is what we basically focus in Afya Akili. How can we enable people to come out of these situations and also manage the situations so that they can be able to have a healthy brain? So I'll stop at that, but I will pose these questions to everyone to think about. So how can we keep our brains healthy? Like how can you keep your brain healthy? Number 2, how can we improve our productivity at work? Or how can we improve our relationships? You've talked about the brain being an organ that really commands this nervous system. How can we sleep better? So that's all about mental health. That's about brain health. So I've tried to really break down the complex words, and I really appreciate the doctors because they really do a good job to explaining these things. And yes, that's the definition. I will pass it on to you so that you can be able to really continue breaking it down on the aspect of No Gadget Hangout.
I think Um, that was amazing to begin with, and I like that you were using definitions and giving sources to those definitions, so everybody after this call can go back to not just verify but like learn more from the perspectives of the conversation. And one thing that stood out for me, especially from the World Health Organization's definition of mental health, is the idea that a person whose mental health is stable, is someone who is able to cope with the normal stresses of life. We are almost becoming a generation that is losing resilience to cancel culture, to pettiness, to many other factors essentially. So certain things that we are supposed to be able to cope with, we no longer are able to cope with them. Somebody gives you a constructive criticism, for instance, and you're like, I have to cancel this person, not because what the person is saying isn't true, but because it rubs off on you the wrong way. And so the concept of mental health essentially doesn't give room for pettiness. It doesn't give room for it doesn't give room for us to not be grounded in who we are. I really like that perspective of being able to cope with normal stresses of life. It becomes overwhelming when it goes beyond the normal stresses of life. So, for instance, there is a difference between being sad and being depressed. Sadness is a normal feeling, it's a normal emotion. Sadness is your body telling you that something isn't right. Depression is an illness, mental illness. Depression is an illness. The same way malaria is an illness, the same way cancer is an illness, it's the same way depression is an illness. It's in the same way that you will have to diagnose for malaria, for cancer, for any other illness that you will have to for depression. Also, depression is not just something you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm depressed. It has to be a diagnosis because it is an illness. And so it's super important to be able to distinguish between when you are having poor mental health, for instance, and when you are having mental illness. But that's a different conversation. Probably we'll have another day to break this down into full perspective. But the reason why one of the key things I picked from the World Health Organization's definition of mental health being the idea or our ability to cope with the normal stresses of life is because, especially in the digital space, you are meeting with different types of people. And so if you are not grounded in who you are, what you are doing is you will let those people define your identity. It means that those people will define whether you are able to think right, whether you're able to feel right, whether you're able to respond to life situations in the way that you should. And so I want us to just take that into notes, and in a bit we'll explain how that relates into the No Gadget Hangout. But the second question I wanted to ask you, off of what you've said about mental health, is what do you think the link is between mental health and the no gadget hangout concept?
Okay, thank you so much, Tosin. I really want us to use real life experiences. So let's talk about moments when you feel bored. What is the first thing you do when you feel bored? You take your phone. That's very simple. You'll take your phone. What do you do with your phone? You get into your phone, you get through your phone rather, and you access it, go to the messages, WhatsApp, Instagram, TikTok. You will get to a point where you really want to take away that boredom. It's like, I don't want to feel like this. It feels horrible to be bored. You just want to get out. It's like, please take me out of this hole of boredom. So what is the quickest thing to do? Whatever really gives you that joy, instant joy, you will run to. And funny enough, the moment you put your gadget down, or rather, let's say your phone or your laptop, switch it off, you come to understand that you're such a lonely person. There is such loneliness. there's such emptiness in your heart. There's a lot of, it's like low self-esteem, and at the same time you're still seeking for that feeling, something to feel that emptiness. And at the same time, when you take your phone and repeat that cycle, nothing is filled in. You end up feeling worse than before. Let me give you an example. You say, oh, today I'll sleep early. I'll sleep at 8 p.m. So what do? You get to bed, you find yourself taking your phone, scroll and scroll. What happens? 1 hour gets to 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Eventually, you end up sleeping at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to be happy about it? You won't be happy.
Not at all.
You won't be happy. You'll be feeling guilty, and at the same time you'll be having this experience of, I can't really discipline myself. What's my problem? And then at the same time you think people are achieving things and you're like, why can't I be this disciplined? Why can't I be like so and so? So the link between the No Gadget Hangout and mental health is basically about addiction, purely addiction. Let's talk a little about depression. You've just mentioned about depression. What is depression? Yes, depression is an illness. And I totally appreciate the medical experts on the mental health space. They really do incredible work. I salute you all, because this is not an easy task. And also demystifying this matters concerning mental health for everybody to understand, and why it's important to seek professional help. It's not easy, but you guys have been doing it and you've been helping so many people. So what is depression? Depression is an illness. Let me put it very easy. Like, you just understand it in a very simple way. You see, sadness. When you're sad, how do you behave when you're sad? You don't want to talk to people. Maybe you feel like, I just don't want to eat. So and so made me angry, so I just feel sad. So that sadness, that is sadness. Imagine experiencing that form of sadness for several weeks. So you feel that sadness. I don't want to eat. I don't want to see anybody. I feel angry. I feel empty. I feel hopeless for several weeks, like 6 weeks, constantly, like just experiencing it every single day.
Yeah.
The sad side of depression is that it just takes life out of you. It takes life. It's like death itself. It takes life out of you. So you'll be like a walking person who is dead inside.
Yeah.
And you just want help, but you don't know how you're going to do it. Okay? So that is depression. So we'll talk about suicidal thoughts in a few minutes. But the link between the No Gadget Hangout and mental health is basically addiction. What is addiction? Here you're trying to get out of that, I don't want to feel this way. So you'll take your phone and give yourself that happy, it's a dopamine. Yeah, you want to really activate that dopamine all the time. But unfortunately, when you put your phone down, you feel worse than before. So one thing I really want to share is, I want to ask this question to everyone. Like, just answer it for yourself. It's like a rhetorical question. How long can you survive without your phone? How long can you survive for 2 hours without your phone? A day without your phone? Number 2, when do you ever allow your brain to rest? So, Tosin, I was sharing with you this incident where an author had written an article, and he was saying that he chose to put his phone aside for some time, just trying to see how it feels to walk without your phone. So he left his phone in the house and went to the restaurant. he somehow felt weird that he was not using his phone, but then he realized that everyone else was just here. You just like this.
Yeah.
Every when I'm having a conversation with you, I'm just here. I'm just replying a text. I'm just emailing this. I'm just replying to this email. I'm just. So this friend, let me call him a friend. This friend was feeling weird to be in a space where everybody was using the
Yeah.
phone and he was. And then, funny enough, he kept on asking himself, so now I'm not using my phone and everyone around me is using their phones. What can I do with myself? Like what can I do? Because it seems like I have a lot of time in my hands. It seems like I have a lot of time. So what can I do with this time? You
Yeah.
see, that is the link. That is what I want each one of us to see. There is so much time in your hands. But many of the times, these tools that are supposed to help us build our structures, help us build our businesses, we are supposed to be using them effectively, but we are not, because one of the things is we have not really defined why we are online.
Yeah.
So basically, what this guy was saying, I like this example, what he was saying. How many times, let's say you're leaving your house, there's always a plant near your home, maybe a tree, maybe a fruit tree, some birds that normal, maybe there's a bird that always comes to your window over there. But then, how many times have you looked around and seen that tree and maybe appreciated that tree growing next to your house? Very rare, because most of the time you will leave the house with your phone here or your phone here. Yeah. So we are never really present. We don't even know what is happening around
Yeah.
us, anymore. We are busy. Busy, 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 busy with our phones. So the reason why we're bringing this no gadget hangout in our spaces is for us to really take this mask off of being always busy and busy and busy and busy and
Yeah.
using this gadget not the way we are supposed to be using them. So, Tosin, I have a question for you. And I think this is something that can really help us with understanding this link. You have been writing about the No Gadget Hangout. You are a digital wellness educator. What do you think, even from the platforms you've been having in your country, that's Nigeria. I
Yeah.
know you've been having participants coming in, and from the feedback I've been seeing from the book and the experiences you've been sharing, is
Yeah.
that my life has never been the same again. So what really happens that also what really triggered you to come to this space of helping people come out of that space of getting addicted to their phones and their gadgets and really focus on their lives? What took you out from that?
Yeah.
What took you to get into that journey of this digital wellness um, experience?
Yeah. I think um, to add to some of the things that you've shared already, one of the things that I think I realized earlier on is that the role our identity plays in all that we do, whether online or all offline, is super significant to the totality of who we are and who we are created to be. It's important to realize, don't put it in this way. I think of the digital space as an environment. So the way you have your markets, your church, your mosques, your schools, if you look at the digital space as another location, it begins to give perspective to the impact that that environment can have on our overall health and well-being. When you started the conversation, you defined mental health in the simplest of terms as our ability to think, feel, and react. When you go to the marketplace, one crazy person that is not too excited can spoil your day. Somebody that is there, that is very kind-hearted, can make your day. And so because that location is a physical space and you experience it, it has a very strong influence in your ability to think, feel, and react to life circumstances. It's the same thing with the digital space. So you go on Instagram or Twitter, formerly Twitter X, and that's a very good example, actually, X. A lot of friends that I've spoken to are not on that platform. They just want to be seen, and that platform just seems like it's not going to do them well, and so they leave that platform. What that goes to tell is that every time that we find ourselves in these digital spaces, they can either promote or diminish our overall health and well-being. You spoke about brain health. One of the advantages of a healthy brain, for instance, is that it helps with productivity. It helps with clear thinking. One of the disadvantages to technology in that perspective is that a lot of times, with the example you gave, you want to sleep by 8 o'clock, for instance, and you're on your phone till 3 o'clock. That affects your cognitive function. By the time you sleep at 3, you're waking up by 5 or by 6. You can't function at the capacity that you are supposed to function in because your brain hasn't gotten enough rest. It hasn't refreshed enough to be able to function in the capacity that it is supposed to function in. And so in interacting with, I've been in the mental health space for a while, and we focus a lot on young people. And so in interacting with them and seeing the role that technology was playing in their overall health and well-being was one of the things that drew me into the digital wellness space. And then the No Gadget Hangout is a strategy from the digital wellness principle that we share. And the reason why we started the No Gadget Hangout was because the level of distraction that we began to see in these young people, unknown to them, like they know the consequences of technology, like you feel the burnout, you feel when you have information overload, but because it is not a term that is at the forefront of your brain, or because it is not something that you're fully familiar with, you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. The author of the book, Indistractable, there was something that he said that I really, really love. He said that you can't call something a distraction if you don't know what it is distracting you from. And so even though a lot of people know that their phone usage is a problem, they are beginning to get addicted to it. They are no longer in control of their devices, rather their devices are in control of them. A classic example is you are reading a book, for instance. You schedule that time to read that book, and then a notification pops up. You pick it, you pause what you were doing. A lot of people have burnt the food that they were cooking because they were distracted by their phones. A lot of people have hit the stone walking on the road because they were distracted by their phone. We've seen a lot of accident cases because they were distracted by their devices. A lot of us don't consider it as distraction because we were not intentional to begin with. Remember, the code says you can't call something a distraction if you don't know what it is distracting you from. So you can only call your phone usage in the night a distraction if your intention was to sleep. But because you went to bed not necessarily with a clear mindset that I'm going to sleep, because if you had a clear mindset that you are going to sleep, then you even go to the room with your phone because your phone doesn't aid sleep. If your intention is, oh, I find it a bit difficult to sleep, so I need to play music, for instance, then if you go to the room with your phone, you will only open the music app and play it. The problem is because we are not as intentional as we should be. You will play the music, and then let me just check something quickly on Instagram. Before you know it, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. And so we set up the No Gadget Hangout as a safe space to pause from technology and have these holistic conversations that help ensure that we are intentional in the things that we're doing, and everything that we're doing aligns with who we are and want to be. Distraction, by definition, is anything that pulls us away from our intention. It's anything that pulls us away from who we want to be. Distraction is anything that stops you from achieving and accomplishing the things that you intend to do. Finally, another reason why we set up the No Gadget Hangout is, like I said in the beginning of this conversation, we are no longer fully present in the engagements that we're involved in. Yes, we are present, but we are no longer fully present. I don't know if this has happened to you before. You're talking to somebody, they're on their device, and then you're like, but I'm talking to you, and the person's like, oh, I'm listening to you. And then after 2 minutes, the person's like, oh, sorry, what did you say? I thought you said you were listening to me. Why are you asking me what did I say? Your attention is divided. And so we are no longer fully present in the conversations that we're having, a concept called phobing. We're no longer present in the activities that we're doing. So be it the cooking example that we said, you're reading a book, you're trying to enjoy nature as you travel, and whatever the case might be, we are no longer fully present. And so the No Gadget Hangout affords us an opportunity to be fully present as we build genuine connections and relationships and have intentional conversations.
Yes, thank you so much, Tosin. I think I can also share my experience with trying the No Gadget Hangout. We've known each other for quite some time, and I remember sharing my experience with you. There's a time I went offline for 6 months, and it was such an experience. Let me just break it down. The first week was terrible. You know,
Yeah.
I felt as if I felt like the world was just caving in. I had this fear of missing out. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what will happen without me online? What is going to happen to me, you know? What am I missing? Eventually, the sun rose and still set. Nothing changed. You know, it really put me in that space of understanding, oh, you mean I'm that small? You know, it takes you from this point of life cannot go on without you to, oh, life can really go on without you, you know? Because I think we've gotten to a space where we have made, you remember the definition, think, feel, and act. Let's now put the perspective of psychological well-being. Social media was created to help us build. You know, it's an innovation, an invention that was created for human development, right? So what happened that we got to a space where what we're thinking and what we're seeing is not really helping us. So it's upon us still, human beings, to ensure that these tools are really helping us the way they're supposed to, because I love it. I love it. It's through Instagram that I'm talking to you, Tosin. I don't
Yeah.
think they've done this. We can't use smoke. You know, they used to use smoke in the olden days. We can't do that. So I really appreciate these platforms. But what happened? What happened? What happened to a point that I have this fear of missing out? You see someone struggling with esteem. You get online and ask yourself, what am I doing with my life? Now I'll ask you this question. When will you mind your business? What does minding your business mean? When will you ever sit down and look into yourself and really build what you're supposed to be building? Because I think we have really been accustomed to look, you know, look at this person's progress, look at this person's, you know, so you feel
Yeah.
as if you're left out. So my experience, exactly, you feel as if you're doing nothing with your life. So my first week was horrific. Carrying on to the other weeks, you know, you have this fear, and then you feel as if you're going to panic, like you're having a panic attack. You know, you feel like you're losing things, you're losing friends. Nobody called me during that time I was offline. I was thinking people will reach out, oh, Phyllis, you're not online. Nobody called. Nobody called. You know, you ask yourself questions. You have so many friends online, but nobody notices when you're silent.
Mm.
So after a long time, after finishing like 3 months, then I'm realizing some calls are coming in. Oh, I'm not seeing you online. Where are you? Did it have to be 3 months for you to notice that I'm not online?
Mm.
Did it have to go all that? Like, did you have to really spend 3 months, not even a day, to notice that I'm not online? So it really calls to, you know, it's like a call to action. Are we really real? Like, are we really living our lives the way we are supposed to? Because during those times when I was offline, I really had to keep on asking myself, why am I online? This tool is supposed to help me grow, but how am I using it? Because it's supposed to help me. It's supposed to help me grow. So when I was coming back, I was a different person. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, now I need to really re-strategize. It's supposed to help me grow, so I'm supposed to do things in a certain way and know when to say stop.
Mm.
It's time to sleep. It's time to reconnect with my family,
Yeah.
because I know those who created these platforms, they did great work. In fact, I salute them. Their main intention was to just bring a solution to the human needs that are
Yeah.
existing in the world. So that is my experience. I'll keep on sharing more about it. But I love what you shared. There is no time when you experience the no gadget hangout for some time, maybe putting your phone aside for like an hour, that you'll be the same again.
Yeah.
I have seen, I've been listening to YouTube experiences of people putting their phones aside for an hour and two
Yeah.
and stuff, and they experience something they have never before. So it's something. And
Yeah.
I really, can you just give me a minute? I talk about suicidal thoughts briefly,
No problem.
so that we can merge it with the no gadget hangout. We really want to encourage people to also take in this it's like a challenge, this no gadget hangout, because you many times we don't really know that we really need help. you know we are always immersed in noise. There's so much noise. When you get home, you switch on your TV, there's news. The next time you're about to sleep, you're on TikTok or YouTube, which is okay. It's for entertainment, yes. But when do you ever get time to really reflect about your life? When do you ever get silent? So the reason why we're also emphasizing on this is for you to be able to know when to seek help. Let's talk about suicidal thoughts. What is suicidal thoughts? What are suicidal thoughts? We've talked about depression.
Yeah.
What is suicide? Suicide is an act of taking your own life, right?
Yeah.
And I see there are some people who take it as, why did he take his own life? There are some people who have this, they don't really understand that getting to that point of suicide is really not someone choosing because they are ignorant, or
Yeah.
rather they are arrogant.
Yeah.
No, they have an illness that they thought they feel hopeless, that they've gotten to a point that they say, you know what, I'd rather go.
Yeah.
And it's upon us to help people who are in depression so that they may not get to that point. So the reason why we're really focusing on also the suicidal thoughts at this moment, suicidal thought is an ideation of the act of taking your own life. So the reason why we are really emphasizing on this is so that you can be able to spend time with yourself. And if you're really struggling with addiction, what are you really trying to run away from? So that you can get the help that you need. We have professionals who can help you. If you're struggling with depression, there's help. If you're struggling with pornography addiction, there's help. There are people who use their phones direct to pornography. If you're struggling with whatever it is, internet addiction, you can get help from it so that you can use that gadget the right way. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll stop that so that Tosin, you can add on it. And before I continue, I can see Edwin has greeted us. Woza. I can see you. Yes, yes. Welcome, Edwin.
I think I like what you said about being intentional with our digital time, with our social media time, with anything that we're doing. Essentially, once you have an intention, it makes it easier to accomplish it, because now you can monitor and evaluate how much of that intention is being achieved. You can observe the level to which you're achieving that intention, the quality to which you're achieving that set goal. So for every social media platform that you're on, for instance, if you knew why you joined those platforms and you've been there for 4 years, you've been there for 3 years, you've been there for 2 months, you can evaluate, am I closer to why I'm on this platform, or am I farther away from why I'm on this particular platform? So I really liked that perspective. There was something that you also spoke about in the context of boredom. We are no longer comfortable with ourselves. Like once you just meet yourself, it's like, well, what is this? This is not right. So you're looking for something to keep you away from yourself. There's a quote that I wrote a while back that says that the power of boredom is lost to the itch of wanting to pick up our devices. And so very briefly, I just wanted you to talk about if boredom is okay. And then if it is, why is boredom important?
Thank you. That is such a good question. And I'm also going to add on the importance of silence. Having silence in your environment. So boredom, what is boredom? You normally have this negative notion about boredom. Let me put it in a layman's language. Boredom is feeling like you have nothing to do. And because you don't have anything to do, you just feel like you want to sit down and do nothing. That's what boredom is. You feel like you don't want to do anything. And at the same time, there's time in your hands, and at the same time, you ask yourself, what am I supposed to do with this time? Oh, I'm supposed to study. I don't feel like studying. You know, you're supposed to do something productive, but you're not going to do it anyway because you don't
Yeah.
have the. It's like a psych. It's like a feeling. It's like I don't want to do it. That is what boredom is, and everybody feels bored every single time. And I was sharing this with you, Tosin. Honestly speaking, it's not always a happy mood when we're also preparing for an event
Mm.
or maybe writing an article. Even when you are writing your book, I'm very sure there are moments you were so bored and asking yourself, oh my goodness, what am I doing?
Yeah.
This is so boring,
Yeah.
you know? But the importance of boredom is one thing. It's, it enables your brain. You've talked about the brain being a command center, like go there, just do it,
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
it commands your body, so the brain is allowed to wander. It starts wandering. It starts wandering, and what happens? There's this thing about creativity. We are really, really pushing people to getting to a point where they are problem solvers.
Yeah.
How can you be a problem solver? You can be a problem solver by allowing your brain to be critical in analyzing things and also be creative. So how can you
Yeah.
do this? Tapping into your boredom. So when you're bored, I don't know if it happens to you. Sometimes when I'm bored, I find myself really thinking about drawing, of course, being an artist.
Mm.
I'll take my pencil and draw. And maybe something good might come out of it, something, something interesting, but it's something, it's from the brain. You find people taking their books to read, others
Yeah.
trying to cook, and something good comes out of it. So the importance of boredom is um, triggering your mind to wander so that it can come up with new
Yeah.
ideas. That is where innovation comes in. And that is
Yeah.
why I'm really emphasizing that we really need to get to that space of embracing boredom in our
Yeah.
spaces. And I'm also giving on the aspects of boredom. Let's talk about silence. Silence is very important in our day-to-day lives. There's so much noise to sing.
Yeah.
There's so much noise. You get home, there's news. I don't think there's anyone who has really watched news and slept well, like slept without thinking about.
Yeah.
Maybe I just feel like I'm happy that the news are really tormenting. I mean, you switch it on and you hear, oh, there's someone who bit someone else. There's a dog that was it's
Yeah.
really
Those are
depressing
the-
somehow.
Yeah.
The- you know, and then when you get into maybe a matatu or the vehicle you're in, there's a radio on. When do we ever get to a point and just sit down and allow ourselves to just
Yeah.
listen to what is around us, like with the nature or alone, so that your mind can wander a bit and help you come up with solutions for problems.
Yeah.
Now, here is where we go back and reflect into ourselves. What problems am I facing? I feel so drained. So, what am I supposed to do with this draining? Maybe I need to sleep well. I need
Yeah.
to eat well. I need to seek professional help. So, that is just briefly about boredom. And I'd really want you to mention the matters of discipline. You can really share something about discipline on the boredom aspect.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like you
Mm-hmm.
said earlier on about how even when we are engaged in activities, we can get bored or get tired of doing them. And I think that's where discipline comes in because life has to go on. And so you can't give up at every feeling that you get or at every unexciting challenge that happens. You won't really accomplish anything long term. I think one of the reasons why boredom is important is because it gives you that creative boost. You are thinking of new ideas, new strategies, innovative approaches to tackle those issues. The concept of play for children, for instance, is that idea that they can dismantle a particular product, which is where the idea of toys originally
Yes.
came from. That you give them something, they dismantle it, try to couple it back together. One of the advantages of boredom is that it gives you that room for creative boost. You're thinking of innovative ways, you're thinking of innovative approach to tackle it. Another benefit of boredom is that it gives you room for self-reflection. You are able to pause and think, which is where the silence that you mentioned comes to play. There's this article I read a while back about a lady that takes herself out on a date, just herself, dress up, smell nice. You go out and you are going to a place, you're not going to where, like, you're not going to a restaurant where the TV is on or there are people that are there, you can be hearing what they are saying. You are finding a private place and just spending time with yourself. We're in a generation where people can no longer spend time with themselves. Like we said earlier on, it's like it feels wrong. It feels wrong to just be idle. It feels wrong to just not be doing something. And it's super important to realize that there's a difference between being busy and being productive. A lot of people are busy, a lot of people are not productive. Just because you are busy doesn't mean that you will be productive. And so we have become a generation of people that just want to be busy, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unknown to us. Unconsciously, we've been able to get to that point where we are just always doing something because something has told our brain, our wiring has been conditioned in such a way that we can't afford to be bored, because somebody somewhere told us that boredom is bad. Somebody somewhere told us that boredom is wrong, but it isn't. It gives you that platform. It gives you that platform to self-reflect, to evaluate where you are on your journey. Again, remember, in the whole of this conversation, one of the ideas that we've established is that we have to be intentional with our digital time. We have to be intentional with our offline time. And so one of the things that boredom does in giving you that platform for self-reflection, one of the things that No Gadget Hangout does in giving you that platform for self-reflection is you can evaluate, where am I on my journey to achieving that intention? Am I closer to it? Am I farther away from it? What do I need to do to re-strategize? What do I need to do to improve, to ensure that I'm aligned? Which is where that principle of traction over distraction comes into play. Traction pulls you to your intention. Distraction pulls you away from your intention. And so sometimes boredom is an opportunity to just pause and see that I need to navigate. But the problem is that at that point of boredom, you picked up your phone. So you don't get that opportunity to self-reflect. So you don't know how far away you are from your intention or the engagements that you plan to attend. And so for me, I think one of the key benefits that captures everything that we have said to this point is that it gives you an opportunity for mental break. Again, remember that brain health, we said that one of the benefits of brain health is that it gives you clarity. You're able to think clearly. One of the things that we do at the No Gadget Hangout is we play a game. It's called Vivified. It's the conversational prompts. And in the design of that game is the opportunity for organic thinking. A lot of us no longer think for ourselves because we do not have that pause, we do not have that silence, we do not have that break. And so life is just very fast. The concept of fast food is the way we are living life. Everything is just on the go, it's on the go, it's on the go. And so you are not thinking straight. And there's something that scientists have told us, the law of use and misuse, as the case might be. Whatever you use keeps growing. Whatever you stop using diminishes, because you're telling your brain, you're telling your being that this thing is not of use to you, and the brain has a lot of responsibility, has a lot of energy that is pouring out, and so it tries to focus on the things that are important. And so because we are no longer thinking for ourselves, a lot of us are becoming people that can't function at a cognitive level that we are supposed to be able to function at, because we are no longer thinking for ourselves. There is no that time. Think about it. You wake up in the morning, you have your bath, you go to work, you come back, you're on one project, you're on the other project. Everything is somebody else related. Even the projects, our own organizations, our own businesses that we're doing, even those ones are not who we are. They are the ways we express who we are. They are not who we are. They are part of who we are. Being a footballer is not who you are. It's one of the ways you express who you are. Being a coach is not who you are. Being a business person is not who you are. It's one of the ways you express who you are. And so if you think about the 24 hours how you spend your 24 hours, within those 24 hours, you don't really have time where it's just you, void of any external influence. There's something I teach clients. It's called the digital auditing. And under digital auditing, we have three key principles. The first is that your professional life has to be solid. Your social life has to be solid. Your personal life has to be solid. Under the personal life, it's broken down into two: your hobbies and your alone time. Because a lot of times when we are doing what we call our personal time, if you think about it, we are engaging with external factors. So whether you are reading a book, which there is nothing wrong with, whether you are watching a movie, which there is nothing wrong with, the bulk of what we call our hobbies are activities that are outside of us. While you have that hobby, while you have those activities, and they are very good for our overall health and well-being, you must also have that alone time, which is when you are meditating, spending time with your creator, where it's an internal expression of who you are. Because by the time you go into the activities of the day, there's just so much to take away your focus. There's just so much to take away your attention that you no longer have that time to pause. But once you create that structure, so the second principle we shared in the context of no gadget hangout and digital wellness is scheduling. No gadget hangout is not random. It's not something you just wake up and say, I'm dropping my phone. You have a client that you're supposed to give a product to. If you don't deliver to that client, your mental health can't be on point because you'll be frustrated. And so no gadget is not something that you are supposed to call a family member. You are not be like, this is my me time. You don't tell the person I'm not available at this point in time. And then you make the person worry unnecessarily. No gadget hangout is intentional. If you decide as a personal principle to say between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, I'm not going to use my phone, you have to be able to ensure that within that time frame, you haven't committed to something else. The idea that we're bringing is that when you're looking at the template of how your day will be, you can schedule times for your hobbies, you can schedule times for yourself, where you're not with your phone, you're not with a book, but you can be with a jotter and a pen where you're writing out some ideas, some creative concept that might come up. You schedule for that time and you take advantage of that time. The reason why we had the conversation about boredom is because a lot of times when you schedule personal time, you will feel bored. And so the next thing is, let me just call a friend. Let me find one activity to cover. What we're trying to say is that while there is room for engaging with friends, for engaging with external activities, we must get to a point where we are also comfortable with engaging with ourselves. This leads me to one of the final questions, I think the second to the last questions I have for today, that says, what role does creative care play in how we approach our mental health? We've spoken about how people get bored easily and it's difficult for them to continue the activities that they intend to do. And so what role do you think creative care helps in us being able to do the things that we want to do and also boost our mental health?
So thank you so much, Tosin, for what you have shared. You've shared a lot, and I'm certain that people have really noted that down. So one of the things that I will share is that, in Afyakili, we've shared that Afyakili is a platform where we teach about mental health. We educate people about mental health. It's purely advocacy, and then we link you up with the professionals when you need help, because everybody needs help. I need help, you need help. So one of the ways that we use is using art, and we have this campaign that has been running. It's called Toy Emotional Mask Campaign, and it's everywhere. When you look into Afyakili, you'll see everywhere people wearing masks. One thing I appreciate the Toy Emotional Mask Campaign is that it's basically it merges with the No Gadget Hangout. It's all about getting to a space of understanding who we really are, because Tosin, we have been put here on earth for a certain time. We don't have a long time we don't even know when. So it gives us that aspect of sitting down and really reflecting. What are my strengths? Oh, I'm good at cooking. What can I do with this cooking? Can I be cooking for people and sell? And also now using these platforms that are available for us, we can use these platforms to get clients. So it takes us away from that addiction that makes us get out of that, oh my God, I feel lost. I don't even know what I'm doing with my life, to, oh, I know what I'm doing. I am a cook. I am a chef. And I can create a platform where people see what I'm doing, and they can become my clients, and I can go and sell. You see, the perspective changes. And it also creates that effect of we are not competing with anybody. You know, Tosin, you're good at digital spaces. Edwin is good with or at something else. We have everybody has something that they're good at. And
Yeah.
with that, how about you really look into that? Take out the emotions, the too emotional mask. It's all about being real with yourself. We've talked about running into the internet to console our emptiness. So it is a way of asking you to why not get into the root cause of your problem?
Yeah.
What is making you feel if you're empty? Do you need professional help? Okay, you need professional help. Here we are. Okay, so what can you do after that? I can build on this. I can become a great teacher. I can really inspire people in my space. I can be a great farmer. I can be a great driver. I can be, we are getting from a point of leave that space of addiction and use the platform well. So that is the one form of art care that to emotional mask has been doing, and I can see that also the no gadget hangout will be coming in. It will be like, they're like sisters and brothers. They're able to merge. It's one family. So that is one of the ways. And I will ask this question to everyone, because many times when we tend to be very absorbed to the environment, that we tend to feel like, oh, so and so is doing so and so is getting married, so and so is buying this. It's so inspiring. But when will you ever build your life? When will you ever sit down and build your life? When will that day come? Because most of the time you're there looking at other people. When will you ever water your plants? Because you're looking at others. When will you water yours? So this is just a strategy of telling you, you know what? Even you can water your plants and they grow. It's not that anybody is better than any other. So that is one of the ways. And to finish up, Tosin, you've talked about having a clear mind. The No Gadget Hangout is a way of bringing us to understanding the aspect of having clarity of mind and also building relationships. Imagine putting your phone down and talking to your wife. Imagine putting your phone down and talking to your husband. Imagine putting your phone down and looking at your children with love and talking to them and listening to them. And also building a relationship with your Heavenly Father, because it's important. We've talked about boredom. Do you know, Tosin, when you're bored, you realize you have nothing to do in this life. You just look at things and you're like, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do with my life? But then it
Mm.
creates an aspect of, oh, I need help. I need that help from someone who really created me. I don't know myself anymore. So it creates a space of seeking help from God, seeking, improving your relationship with God, improving your relationship with your family, your colleagues, because we all need this social well-being. Yes, so I'll stop at that. So you can add on something that I have missed,
Yeah.
Tosin.
I think that's amazing. There isn't much to add to that. That was really, really amazing. I think one question that I will add to what you've said is, if technology goes away, how many of us can survive? Just picture a day without technology, and that day wasn't by choice. Are you able to survive? Most of the time I ask people, you did a poll with your community about if they can stay, for how long they can stay without their devices. Most
Hey.
of the time when I ask that question, I tell them the answer is not dependent on when you are charging your phone. That's not what we're talking about. Your battery is at 100%. How long can you stay without your device? Again, the goal of staying without your device is not to diminish your productivity. Work that needs to be done needs to be done. We are not advocating for leaving your work or doing things haphazardly or not giving the best quality to your responsibilities. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is in the platforms that provide opportunity to not use technology, are you able to take advantage of it? One of the
Mhm.
things that I've learned, and I wrote it down from what you've shared today in today's conversation, is that technology is not a platform for escapism.
Mm.
Technology is not a platform for escapism. Rather, it's an amplifier of who we are, who we want to be,
Yeah.
and how we want the world to know us. Technology is
Yes.
not a platform for escapism. When you feel bored, when you feel upset, when you feel happy, technology is not a platform. Technology was created as a support structure to us. So once
Mm.
technology begins to hinder you getting support, once technology begins to affect you getting support, then it means that there's a problem. Technology was created to improve our lives. And
Mhm.
so once technology begins to not improve your life, it means that there's a problem. Technology was created to boost our mental health and well-being. Once
Mm.
technology stops doing that, there is a problem. Social media is a platform for social connection. We are not created in isolations. Nobody can live by themselves alone. Social media was created as a platform for social connections. And so once you are on social media and you're not feeling connected, you are feeling more depressed, more unexcited, more unhappy, more anxious, it means that the purpose has been defeated. Something is wrong somewhere. In the beginning, we spoke about the concept of intention and attention management. Intention is that I'm on social media to build social connections, to educate myself on whatever it is that I'm interested in, to do whatever business it is that I'm leveraging social media for. Attention is that I'm observing to see that I'm able to achieve those intentions. And so if you're on social media and you're observing that you're not building friendship, you're not building businesses, you're not learning, you have to question why you're on those platforms. I always tell
Mm.
people you do not have to be on all social media platforms. Your intentions define the platforms that you join. And so the question becomes that if are you achieving those intentions on those platforms? If you
Mhm.
are on Instagram, for instance, to reply a message, after 30 minutes, have you replied that message? Because what happens a lot of times is that you open your Instagram, you see one message that you like it, you read the comments, you add your comments, you keep scrolling and scrolling. 2 hours, you have not done what took you there. Until we get to the point where we are so conscious of who we are and the things that we intend to achieve and how we intend to achieve them, we'll be producing results, but those results won't be quality. I think one of the greatest disadvantages of our dispensation is that we are no longer focused on the output and the strength therein. So we're people that are present but not fully present. We're people that are producing results but not quality results. And because we are not conscious enough to observe this, we are not seeing that there is a problem. We're people that sleep and not observing the quality of our sleep. So there is this, as a digital wellness educator for clients, there are these wearables that I recommend to them. It can be a smartwatch, it can be a ring, it can be in whatsoever form. One of the things that it does is that it helps you know how many hours that you've slept. For instance, there is sleep and there is deep sleep. I had a friend that I recommended to, he's actually even a doctor, and he called me and he was like, the app is showing that I slept for 7 hours, but deep sleep was only 45 minutes. So we're people that are sleeping, but we are actually not sleeping well. You spoke about brain health. If we go into diagnosis and we meet neurosurgeons, a lot of us are not as healthy as we think we are. A lot
No.
of people that are just walking and then they just fall and collapse. It's not something that happens suddenly. There has been a track record of different things that were done or not done. And so, because we are no longer focused on output, we wake up in the morning, we are not feeling energized because we didn't sleep well in the night, but we are not thinking about it because it's like life has to go on. And then you keep repeating that cycle, you keep repeating that cycle, you keep repeating that cycle. And so, if you've not gotten anything from today's conversation, as we bring it to a close, technology wasn't created as a medium for escapism. We need to become a people that are intentional with our actions and our inactions. We need to become a people that schedule for the activities that we do so that we can give our 100% concentration, our 100% presence to those activities. And we need to be a people that build traction over distraction. We need to be a people that pull towards the things that we want to achieve as against pulling towards the things that we do not want to achieve. And then as a bonus from the last thing that you said, we need to look for creative ways to do the things that we want to do. As we learn to be comfortable with being bored, we need to find creative templates to be able to approach the activities that we do. Before we wrap up, I don't know if you have any final thoughts for our audience, and then we call it a day.
Yes, I do. I do. Thank you so much for what you've shared. I've learned a lot. I will give you a chance to answer that question. There's a question that has been posted on the comment section, gadgets with kids. It's like a comment, but we can really say something about it. But let me just give this, maybe say something concerning sleep. We really underestimate the power of sleep, you know? In Kenya, we call it, in Swahili, we call it usingizi. Hmm? Kulala, sleep. You know, we say work hard. I don't know, those people who work hard wake up at 3 a.m., they sleep for 2 hours. Who said? Who said? At the expense of your health? At the expense of your health? So that you can achieve all that you want and take all that money to hospital because you can't enjoy what you've worked hard for? Don't be deceived, my friends. Sleep. Ensure you get enough sleep. Create time and sleep. It's important for your brain. And I have a question for everyone. Where on earth have you seen anyone receiving a brain transplant? I've never seen in my life, except in movies. Of course, they're fiction. But I've never seen that, oh, Tosin has passed away. God forbid. But now, let me take his brain, put it here. I'm going to use it as I carry on with my life. It has never happened. And I really appreciate everyone who, you know, giving away, let's say, someone like people who give away their kidneys for transplant. You see how helpful it is for a human being. It's very helpful. You know, you're like, wow, you've given me this. Thank you so much. I can carry on with my life. May you be blessed. But have you ever seen a brain being transplanted? I've never seen. So let's take care of our brains. Our brains, the brain is an organ that cannot be, like, if there's a damage that has happened, in most cases, it's really hard to reverse that damage. So it's really important to take care of your brain. And about reset button, I think it's time we tap reset. Like on our computers, on our phones, there's always a reset button. Why not reset, 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 reset it? If you feel like you're getting overwhelmed and you feel overloaded with so many things, reset. Say, today I'm not going to go online. I'll go next time, but not now. Let me take a breather and just breathe. You will feel relieved. And something else about also trying to really balance is that you become less anxious and your stress levels they go low. And because you'll be sleeping enough, you're able to also stay calm all the time. I see people fidgeting all the time who are just panicking. Your brain is just racing. There's news here, there's someone who has done this. Your brain is just racing, racing, racing. You can't even sleep. Why not allow your brain to rest? Because you can't get any other brain. Why not take care of the one you have? And then lastly, gratitude. There's this power of looking at the things that you have. Oh, I'm offline. Okay. I have a family. Thank you, God. I have this. This is what I have. This is what I have, and I appreciate it. Why not be grateful for what you have? You see. So I will conclude with that. And lastly, I just say, keep your mind healthy. Keep your mind healthy. Keep your mind healthy. It is everything for you. So Tosin, you will mention about the gadgets with kids, and I can see she has also, the person who has shared has just said a friend took away the gadgets from the kid and she ended up taking her life. The child ended up taking her life, which is really, I don't know, it's really sad. It's really sad how our lives have synchronized with these gadgets. So it is a problem. It's a menace. It's a tragedy. So how
Yeah.
can you go about this?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Thank
obviously,
you.
like for these kinds of questions, I like to give a general perspective to it because we don't know the full details of the conditions that end up leading to somebody taking their life. There's something that is called the tipping point principle, which is a merge of several factors that hits the peak and you can't bear it any longer. And so the final trigger is what makes a person attempt or die by suicide. And so To begin with, it's important to realize that for children, the our brains aren't even fully developed, even as adults, until like 28, as some research have shown. But for children specifically, their brains are still developing, and so excessive exposure to technology, to screens, can reduce their cognitive ability. But more important than that, or let me approach it from a different perspective. When one of the things I've noticed with parents in conferences and in conversations is that they tell their children or they tell their child what to do without the why. Never tell your child what to do without an explanation behind it. I give you why. If you teach, if you learn how to drive a car, let's say at 16, you learn how to drive a Toyota, for instance, and then somebody gives you an SUV, you'll be able to drive it because the principles of driving are the same, even though the vehicles are different. Now, if you tell your child not to do A and you don't tell him why, and he goes outside and sees the reason why you told him not to use his device, but in a different format, there's a clash of understanding. It's like, you told me not to use my phone because I've not finished my assignment. Okay, now I've finished my assignment. Why am I not still using my phone? But if you explain that there's a limited amount of time that I'm allowing you to use your device, for instance, because of physical health concerns, so eye strain from excessive screen time usage, posture issue, either hunchback or several other neck issues, or other several other physical challenges that can come up. The child has an understanding. Okay, so I'm using my phone for 5 minutes. I'm taking a break. I'm coming back to it. Or even for the risk factors that happen within the digital space, which is exposure to indecent content, which is predators that are online. If you give those explanations, it becomes a bit easier for the child to understand why you are telling them not to be on their devices, or why you are telling them not to be on their devices for a period of time. Another reason why it's important to explain why is that parents have to be able to model what they are saying. So you can't tell your child during dinner, for instance, now drop your phone, and then you as a parent, you are using your device. It doesn't add up. Another challenge, especially with social media, for instance, again, because children are not fully developed, there's so much pressure that they've not been able to build resilience for. Even we as adults, there's only so much that we can handle on social media platforms. How much more children, even without develop our brains, even without developed our awareness, how much more children. Another perspective again is, you don't necessarily need to take all forms of technology away from your child. We are in a technology saturated era right now. And so for education, most children need technology. But do they really need to be on social media? You see the device. The idea is, okay, so until they get to a certain age, maybe 13, 14, 15, they are not on social media, but they can be on other technological platforms. That's one perspective. The second perspective is, if you tell your child no technology, are you giving that child an alternative? Because again, we're talking about adults not being able to handle boredom. How much more children? You tell your child not to be able to not to use a device, or you don't provide a device for your child, but you're not spending time with that child. You're not creating creative avenues for that child to be productive with themselves. The child gets to a lot of thinking and is not able to regulate those thoughts. Remember, at the point of suicide, the person is hopeless and helpless. What that means is that that is the only option the person is seeing. The only thing that makes sense is to take my life, because the person is not seeing any avenue for hope. The person is not seeing any avenue for help. But both of us are in the mental health space. We know that there is help. We know that there are support structures. But those support structures have to be available to that person at the point of suicide ideation. Suicide ideation is the point of thinking about taking one's life. And so for a child, is there a safe space where a child can come to you and have honest conversations with you without you as a parent or as a caregiver being judgmental? Because a lot of children are bottling things up, not because they don't want to share, but because they've tried to share and either they were judged or they were ignored. And then finally, the reason why I started by saying that I usually give a general perspective to the conversation is because there's a concept called relational trauma. Relational trauma essentially is trauma that happens as a result of any kind of relationship that you have. So it could be relationship with your parents, it could be relationship with your caregivers, it could be relationship with teachers in school, it could be relationship with even your neighbors or strangers. Negative experiences that they have as a result of this relationship. Now, if this child has had this relational trauma with, let's say, friends in class, for instance, you go to school and all your friends have phones, and they're telling you, oh, my mommy lets me have the phone, my dad allows me to be on social media, and as a child, your esteem isn't strong enough, and you're like, oh, everybody has it, and I'm not having it. And you know, children can be brutal sometimes. They are making fun of you. They are making jest of you. Oh, you can't afford a phone and all of that. And you don't have a safe space to have those emotions, to have those conversations, to pour out and be able to filter. The child is left in his thoughts. The child is left in his imaginations. And for some reason, something exposes him or her to taking their lives, exposes him or her to the concept of suicide. If there is no support structure to change that perspective, the child ends up, as a result of that pressure, not because the child knows any better, the child just wants a way out of that pain. And so this is us saying, because we established at the beginning that the concept of no gadget hangout or dropping our devices is not telling you not to do the things that you need to do. If you need to work with your device, do it. We had a client that was doing 6 hours on WhatsApp, for instance. She uses it for business. At the end of the consultation, we told her to do 8 hours. So if whatever your work is requires you to spend more time on technology, please go ahead and do it. But what we are saying is that be able to regulate. You know that my work requires me to do 10 hours on this device, for instance. It means that when I come home, I shouldn't be doing tech-related activities. That's bonding time that I'm supposed to spend with my wife or my husband. Spend that time with it. When I'm hanging out with friends, my work doesn't give me plenty platforms to go out and hang out on social calls with my friends. When you have that opportunity, your devices shouldn't be there. What we are saying with dropping your phone is we are not saying reduce your productive work. We are not saying reduce your educational. You are doing your master's online, and then you come on this meeting and you hear that no gadget hangout is good, and then you drop your phones and you don't attend lectures. You will fail your exam. It will negatively impact your mental health. That is not what we are advocating for. What we're advocating for is structure. But more importantly, to the question that was asked, if there's any parent here or caregiver here, if you are telling your child not to use their device, be able to explain why and be able to provide alternatives for that child so the child is not left bored, unaware of what he's supposed to do with his or her life. And then there's this principle that I saw very recently that I've been advocating for. There's a difference between press play and play. So press play is playing cartoons, playing movies, and all of that. Play is going outside and play. Let children play. Children, like the way we grow up, when we were growing up, they weren't smartphones. There were phones, but they weren't smartphones. We're a generation of children that are no longer expressing life with nature. Allow those children go outside. Depending on the location that you are in, there might be security challenges. You have cousins, you have neighbors that you can do house play and all of that. Let those children play outside of pressing play. I hope that has been able to help a little bit. If it wasn't enough, you can send us a DM and we'll be able to speak to the specifics of whatever that challenge was for that child. But thank you, everybody, for joining today's conversation. Wanja, thank you so much for taking out time to share your perspective on what
Yes.
you do within the mental health space, on sharing on the emotional marks and all of that. Yeah, you want to say something?
Yes, I want us to give a shout out to the people who have joined us. I
Oh,
can
yes,
see
definitely.
Angie, hi. I can see Edwin. Hi, Edwin. I can see
There's
how do
love
you
from
Mus
Lagos.
Musial?
There's
Yes, I can
Darwin
see.
from Kaduna.
Hi, and there's so many other people who have
Yeah,
joined us. Thank you so much. And something else, salute to everyone, the tech guys, the doctors, the entrepreneurs, every single person, the farmers, we are in this together. We are here to make life better for every single person because everyone has something to offer.
yeah,
Anyone who is in addiction has something to offer, and that's why we are offering this. And guess what? No Gadget Hangout is coming to Nairobi, Kenya for the first time. With Tosin coming all the way from Nigeria to here, Nairobi, it will be our first county. We'll be going to every county in our country. That is the 47 counties, starting with Nairobi. And currently, Tosin and his team, they're having the No Gadget Hangout in Nigeria. We have Lagos, Jos, Kaduna, and I know there are going to be so many other No Gadget Hangouts. And you're also hoping that you're going to spread in many parts of the world, just educating people and spreading one language. We are in this together, and everyone has something to offer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll be having another session next week, Wednesday, with another speaker. Until then, do have a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning,
And
wherever you're joining from.
yes, and if you need assistance, please seek professional help. It's very necessary for your mental health. Thank you and have a lovely time. Bye.